Zoo Mama, we have another season of Marvel Snap that is almost here. I'm talking about the December season, and so I'm going to give my thoughts on all of the new cards coming out, including the Season Pass card, and whether I think they're worth chasing after and trying to get, or you may want to save your resources and skip them. Now, I do have a dollar sign on here because it's not the point of this video, but I think I do need to mention that as it looks right now, this December season, the new card releases will be the most expensive month of Marvel Snap that we have ever seen in terms of keeping up with card acquisition. So if you are already collection complete or you're trying to get there and you're almost there, it's going to be a tough month unless Second Dinner implements something to give players more resources. Now they may be planning that. They said in December they are going to announce the future of series drops. So we may just see an expensive December and then series drops happen maybe come January and things kind of even out. But as it stands right now, I do need to mention it. December looks like the most expensive month of Marvel Snap that we have ever seen. Okay, so I'll touch on that a bit at the end. It's not the point of the video. So let's start talking about these new cards. First up, we have the Season Pass card, Sebastian Shaw. He is a 3-cost, 3-powered card with the ability that when this card permanently gains power, gain +2 more power. And it doesn't matter where he is, on the board, in your hand, or in your deck. Now, notably, he is a 3/3 that can get +2 when a trigger happens. This sounds a lot like Werewolf by Night, who is a 3/3 that can get +2 when a trigger happens. But Werewolf by Night gets +2 when an on reveal happens, and there's so many good on reveal cards in the game. It doesn't just tie him down to one specific archetype. Sebastian Shaw is more tied down to one archetype. You're going to be using, hand or deck buff cards, something like Okoye or Nakia, Forge, Nico, cards like that. So he is just a worse Werewolf by Night, in my opinion. I don't think he's bad, because I think Werewolf by Night is very, very strong. So I don't think Sebastian Shaw is bad. I think he's okay. I'm giving him the yellow thumbs up. I don't think he's super exciting. He's probably the weakest Season Pass card we've had in a while, because Loki, Elsa, Miss Marvel, all very, very solid cards. And so Sebastian Shaw, I think you'll see some play. He kind of reminds me of Dawkin, where he's this 3-cost card that could go kind of big in some games, but overall he's kind of, just decent. He's not horrible, has decent stats, but usually not a game winner. So if you usually get the Season Pass, you're probably going to want to keep that up. If you only get the Season Pass when it's a really strong Season Pass card, you might consider skipping this one, because I don't think Sebastian Shaw is really strong. I think he's decent. I think you'll see a little bit of play, but nothing crazy. Next up, we have Blob, who is a 6-cost, 3-powered card with the on-reveal ability to merge your deck into this and gain its total power. He also has an ongoing ability that he can't be moved. I don't think that makes much of a difference. I think it's more thematic, but it matches with Colossus in terms of not being able to be moved. So before I go further into his ability and what I think of Blob, I should note he is a Series 5 card. He's going to be 6,000 tokens, and his release date is December 5th. That's the first day of the new season. That's also when Sebastian Shaw comes out. For December, it is the first time we are seeing a Season Pass card and a new card come out at the same time. So come December 5th, there are 2 new cards in the game, which means if you want to keep up, you need to buy the Season Pass and you need to open Spotlight caches that same week. Okay, so that's very tough. It looks like that's the schedule going forward, that we're going to have 1 additional new card every month, which is great if you like new cards in the game, but not so great if you're trying to just keep up with having all the cards and you don't want to spend a bunch of money. So again, Second Dinner may have plans for this. I'm not just trying to bag on them or the game, but I think it's important to note because it is a change, it is new, and I don't just want to not mention it for no good reason. So Blob is going to be in Spotlight caches with Stegron and Jeff. Not many people are going after Stegron, but a lot of people are going to go after Jeff, so you may just get him that way. In terms of his ability, he can kind of be like an Infinite, because come around to turn 6, if you have 3 cards left in your deck and they're each 5 power, you play Blob. He's going to have his base power of 3 plus 15 from the cards in your deck, and now he's a 6/18. Okay, so it's a little bit short of Infinite, kind of like a big Hulk or Orca without the conditions of needing to be the only card in the lane. So I think he's pretty good. I think he potentially power creeps on Infinite, although Infinite sees play in Lockjaw decks, and Blob is a bit risky in Lockjaw decks because if he comes out too early, he gets rid of your deck. Okay, now there may be something there where you destroy your deck and then you play Thor and you know you're going to get Thor's Hammer from your deck on the next turn. There may be something there with that. Overall, I'm not sure exactly what deck he sees playing. Again, you want some decent power cards in your deck for Blob to power up, maybe some kind of Hella Tribunal. But just looking at his power, I give Blob the yellow thumbs up. I don't think he's game breaking. I don't think he's crazy. He can counter Darkhawk because you're getting rid of your deck. And so maybe he's just good, you know, just decent in some cases, maybe a bit niche. But again, getting an Infinite and not having to skip turn 5, that could be very, very strong. So I'm giving Blob yellow thumbs up. Next up, we have Firestar, who's also going into Series 5 for 6,000 tokens. She is a 6-cost, 3-powered card with the on-reveal ability that each card you played last turn gains this card's power. Now, Firestar initially maybe doesn't seem crazy because she's a 6/3. She can add 30 power to the board. Let me say that again. Firestar on turn 6 can pretty reasonably add 30 power to the board. She may be the easiest way to add that much power to the board of any card in the game. Okay, and you may think that sounds crazy. How are you going to get 30? Well, it depends on what you play on turn 5. In turn 5, you're going to be playing some kind of like Sarah control deck, but maybe without Sarah. You're going to drop your combo on turn 5. So turn 5, you're going to start off by paying 2 energy to play Mysterio. Mysterio counts as 3 cards played. After Mysterio, you've got 3 energy. You're going to play whatever 1 or 2 cost card you want. You pick. That's 4 cards. And then you're going to end that sequence with Forge. Forge is a 5th card. You may even have 1 extra energy. And turn 6 comes around, you play Firestar. She gets the buff from Forge, so she's 5 power, and she will add 5 power to each of these 5 cards. That's 25 power across the board and 5 power on herself. Okay, Firestar is a pretty reasonable 6-cost, 30-powered card. That's not that hard to do, that scenario I just mentioned, and there's going to be more combos that work with her as well. But it's not that hard to pull off. They don't have to be specifically ongoing cards like with Spectrum's buff or 3-cost cards like with Surfer's buff. And she's at least giving +3. All right, she could give more if you power her up. Maybe playing her deck with Sebastian Shaw. So she could be like 2 Dr. Dooms with a 6 cost. I mean, it's nuts. I'm giving her an easy green thumbs up. I'm saying she might actually be too good that it's a bit risky because I do expect her to get nerfed. I mean, again, this is crazy. Like, Second Dinner should have learned their lesson that giving +3 to stuff is too strong. They had to nerf Silver Surfer. He used to give +3 to 3 drops. Now he gives +2. They had to nerf Elsa. She used to give +3. Now she gives +2. I think they're going to have to nerf Firestar. I mean, if you get her down somehow with more than 3 power, whether it's through Forge or through hand buff or deck buff cards like Nakia or Okoye, she's just going to go crazy. She's going to add so much power to your cards that are already there. Even if your opponent has Goliath, as long as you revealed first with Firestar, it already happened. Okay, that power was already added to the board. So I think she's absolutely bonkers. I think she's easily the best card that comes out in December. If you're trying to get the best card, you should get her. But if you don't like cards getting nerfed, you may actually want to reconsider. Now, they could just change her to a 6-2 or 6-1. But I think she's going to absolutely dominate the meta. Second Dinner is also on a bit of like a holiday break, so there's not as many OTAs in December. There's going to be a patch still. But if that doesn't change things, we're going to continue seeing lockdown decks to try and counter Firestar. We're going to continue seeing junk decks, Loki decks to copy her and play her better, and maybe a rise of some more Sandman decks. Now, you do need to ramp into Sandman to make sure he's down by turn 4, so that way on turn 5, the Firestar player can only get 1 card down, but she's absolutely bonkers. She is coming out as well with Ravana Renslayer and Living Tribunal in her set, so I know a lot of players are waiting to get those cards because they skipped on them when they first came out, and then the cards end up getting buffed after. So it may be a good time for Spotlight caches. Again, Firestar, I don't think it's that hard to add 30 power to the board which is absolutely nuts, and I'm so confident that she gets nerfed. If she's not already nerfed by the time she gets released. Maybe they change her by the time she comes out, but she's absolutely crazy. Big green thumbs up here. Next up, we have Havok, who's also entering into Series 5 for 6,000 tokens. Bit of a theme we got going here. But Havok is a 2-cost, 1-powered card, and his ability is after each turn, you're going to lose 1 max energy, but Havok himself gains 3 power. So this is very interesting. I think he's got a very interesting ability. It is very niche. And the obvious thing to do here is that you want to destroy him maybe, or send him to your opponent with Viper. Now the problem with sending him to your opponent with Viper is that if you play Havok on turn 2, you're still going to lose 1 energy at the end of turn 2. So come around to turn 3, you now only have 2 energy. By the end of the game, turn 6, you're only going to have 5, so you can never play a 6-cost card. And you can play Viper, send him over to your opponent, and then it limits your opponent to only having 3 energy for the rest of the game, I believe, but they're still getting a big powered card. I mean, he's going to be like a 2-13. You're giving your opponent 13 power and limiting their energy. So it could work in some scenarios. I think he's really, really niche. And if you don't get a good combo off, he's just kind of useless. He might just do nothing for you. If your opponent manages to destroy him or something, then you just wasted all that time and tempo. So I'm giving Havok a red thumbs down. I think he's pretty easily the worst card coming out. Again, he's just so gimmicky, okay? He may have some use. I think he's going to be fun. If you're just looking for fun, interesting, exciting cards, I think he fits that mold. But I just think he's too niche and too gimmicky to see much play. I don't think he can work that often. I don't know if he's ever a great option to have in your deck. So we're going to have to see what people come up with. Maybe there's some, really creative combos, but I see him being pretty weak. Even if you have an Annihilus deck, just sending him over on turn 5 doesn't limit your opponent, really, and you're just giving them power. So it doesn't help that much. He's coming out with Nico and Legion in Spotlight Caches, 2 very strong cards. So if you do need those cards, you may still end up picking up Havok. But again, to me, he's the most skippable card of December. And lastly, we have Selene, who is also Series 5 for 6,000 tokens. Every card coming out in December is going into Series 5. There are none going into Series 4. And there's also an extra card in December. So again, it's a very, very expensive month. But Selene is a 1-cost, -1 powered card with the on or reveal ability to afflict the lowest power card in each player's hand with -3 power. Now this is very interesting. It obviously screams clog, right? Hit a goblin in your hand to send over to your opponent has -3 power even more, or hit the hood or something. Then you can send stuff over with Viper or Annihilus, and then you're just going to worsen a card in your opponent's hand. So she's going to keep the clog meta going. Again, I don't expect the meta to change in December because Firestar and Selene kind of just fit where it's at. Firestar adds a deck that the current meta is maybe even pretty good against, and Selene just adds to clog. But, Luke Cage is going to be stronger than ever as well because of Selene. Luke Cage, Shadow King. So I do think Selene's pretty good. I'm giving her a green thumbs up. I think she's worth it. Being a 1-cost card, and she can do 2 things. Remember, she's lowering the power of a card in your hand, but she could also be disrupting a card in your opponent's hand. I mean, if she ever hits something like Galactus or Black Panther, she could really just mess up your opponent's day. Or hit Deadpool. I mean, that's going to go crazy, right? So I do think she's pretty good, and she's just so flexible. Being 1-cost, you're going to Annihilus her over. I think she helps out the clog package even more. Maybe it doesn't fit into too many decks, but just a good card, and people will come up maybe with some good crazy combos for her, if not now, if in the future. So we'll have to see, but that is my review for all of these December cards. Again, the focus of this video was not to talk about the monetization of Marvel Snap, but we do have 5 cards coming out. One's the Season Pass, which means it costs at least $10, and the other 4 are all Series 5 cards. They give me 6,000 tokens, and tokens are so hard to come by. If Second Dinner does not give players more resources and ways to get tokens, people are just going to fall even farther behind. And a lot of people are already feeling behind, so they're going to have to do something. And they may have something planned. Again, I don't know. But if they don't do something, this isn't great. This is pretty bad in my opinion. If you're not giving players more resources, don't release more cards that cost 6,000 tokens. I mean, come on. So my thoughts is that Sebastian Shaw, he's alright, but he is a Season Pass card, so you're probably going to get him if you get the Season Pass. Blob is okay, maybe has some potential. Firestar, absolutely nuts. I think she's busted. I think she gets nerfed within a month of being released, if they don't already change her by the time she comes out. Havok, maybe I'm wrong in him, but I think he's pretty bad and skippable, way too gimmicky. And then I think Selene's pretty good, maybe a bit niche with Clog, but I think she's just a really strong card, and she does multiple things for one, which is really good. So that is my thoughts on these new cards coming out in December. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. If you think I'm absolutely wrong on any of these cards, or if you're happy that they are releasing more cards each month, let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time.